how was he for you, like, as a kid? Was he still this uber confident kind of player? Obviously, he had things he needed to work on to get better. But what was your assessment of him at that time when you kind of first saw him?
So, yeah, the first time he came, he was like a skinny 6th, 7th grader. He was a really good swimmer. He was ranked nationally, I think. He was a top 4 in state. Yeah. I think in freestyle. So he was a really good swimmer, and that's how he came. And then I guess he wasn't playing as much on his team because his team played him as a center. And as a skinny, tall kid, you just get pushed around a lot. Yeah. People don't pass, little guards don't pass it to you. So.
Oh, I know the feeling.
Right. So his dad and mom brought him, and he started training with Steve a little bit. And then Steve was like, "Hey, Dmitry, this guy is probably going to be really good. Like, you should check him out." And, we like looked at him, and he was competitive. He was always competitive. He had his Lithuanian friends who beat the heck out of him, kind of just make him tougher, So like those twins, they're in college now, still playing, and he that's what we saw. And then we saw that he was a gifted passer. He saw the game different. He was just underdeveloped. His body was not ready. He was just not stable. His reads were sometimes too slow, or he would like overthink something. But his vision and just gift of making other better and being happy for others was always shining through. And that's where we really like, hey, we got to play through this guy. He's going to be a point guard. And if he grows, it will help him, right? So it helps when you are 6'10" and move like a guard. I always say, like, if you see him from far, you're like, oh, that's a guard. And then you like closer and closer and like, oh, Matas, he's like 6'10".
Yeah.
So it's something I didn't see a lot. Just so by about 8th grade, you can see the trajectory was when he like fell in love and started working. Christina always reminds me that I know a lot of schools here or teams here have a feeder program during the winter.
Yes.
So in their suburbs, it wasn't developed there yet. And him and those 2 twins for a whole winter, a spring, a summer, a fall, and an 8th grade winter, I saw him almost every day. Wow. So they would share rides or whatever it was. I saw them every day. And that was a really big jump for those 3 guys who it was just really us, 4 or 5 kids in the gym sometimes because the winter is not as busy.
Right.
And we just really got locked in. And that was a big jump that's what fall in love with the game. That was like he has some categories already, but that was just really kind of stepped up. And then when he starts showing what he can about freshman, sophomore, high school,
yes, sir.
People start recruiting him. So one time I sat down with like Matas and parents. I was like, hey, if it's going this way, you don't need to think about school no more. Like, he's going to go straight to pro. And then like they laugh about it, and I guess Matas didn't. So like 2 years later, like, hey, that's what it is. Like, I told you. So it's kind of, it was pretty cool to see that development and just growth,
Like that.
What I'm always interested in, like the actual kind of, whether it's drills or just specifics of how you develop a guy. You mentioned teaching guys how to be guards, even though they're not like, I think a lot of high school and middle school coaches, they just place you by size, right? It's not just like teaching you to develop guard skills. I think that's what Europe has done really well with their player development. And that's why you see guys like Jokic come over and Luka, who are 6'8", right. 6'10", 7 feet tall, right. And they're point guards. So can you just kind of share a little bit more about your approach towards that and developing him as a guard, and like maybe some of the stuff that you actually work on with him in terms of drills?
Yeah, that's pretty good observation. So again, like people think that I'm like just his skill trainer, but I was his coach. And I don't know if you play AAU, that's mean you ride together, you go together out of town, you eat, so like sometimes I was joking, like I spend with those guys more than with my kids in the summer. So it's a lot of quantity and quality time spent together, right? And in those moments, you talk the game, you figure out, you bounce ideas, you coach them, you watch film, you watch games. and it's just a bigger approach. It's a holistic approach. You don't just like, hey, you come here, this is what we do. It's a skill, and you move on. And I feel like a lot of people kind of undervalue that. Like I said, I was his coach, which means after the game, I knew what he needed to work on.
Right.
It wasn't just like off the top, like, hey, let's work on this move. Like, no, you didn't pass to this guy who was open. So, like, you got to turn your head, or you took the screen and then the read was there and you didn't. So then, like, we knew exactly what to work on. And just personally, my belief that basketball is positionless. And you find when you're younger, you work on everything slowly, right? It's a development. It's a slow process. I say that my saying is we player development, we team development, we character development, and winning come as a side effect, right? So a lot of people, I believe, doing disservice when they're like the big kid shop in the 5th grade. So I just put a zone, I put him in the middle. So now 2 years later, that big kid is the same size as everybody. But all he can do is just stay in the middle or shoot layups, right? So then for me, it was positionless basketball. You need to know how to make plays. You need to know how to make shots. I always believe in 3 points, to stretch the floor, to run in transition, to sprint. Like a lot of big guys didn't like to play for me because I made them run, right? Like we ran a lot. We played faster. So if you weren't in shape, you were struggling, right? So
Get in shape.
you either get in shape, right, or you're just not going to do it.
Ain't gonna play.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that was my belief. And Matas, it helps when you're genetically gifted and you grow and you freak athlete, right? But both parents played, and his younger brother is genetically gifted. So then it just all gets together. And like I said, I believe in positionless basketball, and people know how to play. So for me, my job is to create players who know how to play the game no matter what system is.
We all silly like the mayor.